Welcome to the Pederscope. This is Keys to Being the Difference. I'm your host, Steve Pederson. Today's key to being the difference is be curious. There's a couple of quotes by the famous Walt Disney. One of the things that Walt Disney says is, "We keep moving forward, opening new doors and doing new things because we're curious. And curiosity keeps leading us down new paths." Walt Disney also said, "When you're curious, you find a lot of interesting things to do." I really like and appreciate Walt Disney's perspective on being curious. You've probably heard the phrase, "curiosity killed the cat." And I think what happens is that phrase kind of gets into our subconscious mind a little bit, and we maybe then tend to not be so curious. But curiosity is an incredible thing, and it's definitely one of the keys to being the difference. Take me, for example. One of the things that I'm doing that for me is just purely out of curiosity is this Pederscope, is doing these Periscope sessions. It was just something I thought, this would be interesting. It's interesting to me. Let me find out what happens. I'm curious to see what would happen if I do a bunch of Periscopes based on the idea of sharing keys to being the difference. So you never know what curiosity is going to lead you to. Of course, I'm not advocating doing crazy or stupid things out of curiosity. I'm not saying, hey, I'm curious what would happen if I went into this adult bookstore, or I'm curious what would happen if I jumped off this bridge. That's not the kind of curiosity I'm talking about. The kind of curiosity that I'm talking about is this sense of wonderment within us. This sense of, hey, I get to do this. I get to explore. I get to discover. I get to blaze a trail and just find out what's out there. I think about Columbus, one of the guys who sailed across the ocean and discovered America. He was curious. There was some thoughts, there was some fears. Some people thought, Columbus, if you go sailing, you're going to fall off the end of the world. People thought the world was flat. But he thought otherwise. He was curious, and his curiosity led him to discover new lands. Think about, for a moment, what Walt Disney said. And think about your life. Do you keep moving forward? Do you open new doors? Do you do new things? Are you curious? I think curiosity is a great place to live from if you feel like you're not a very curious person and you want to get more curious and get more comfortable with being curious. You can combine some of the things that we've talked about on the Pederscope. You can take other keys to being the difference, keys such as breathe and be, meditation, affirmations, and you can take these and take some time to meditate and just have this affirmation. I am curious. Just breathe that in. I am curious. And just say that over and over to yourself a few times and see what that does inside your soul. See what it stirs up. How is being curious one of the keys to being the difference? Obviously, you're not going to make much of a difference if you're just doing the same old, same old. Some of the sort of opposite words of being curious would be being indifferent. being normal, being ordinary, being apathetic or uninterested. If you want to be the difference and make the difference, these are not words that can describe you. The words that must describe you and me are words like curious. That person is curious. I look at it as just a way of letting ourselves become bigger and expand, and I think curiosity is an upward and outward call. So hopefully this encourages you. Maybe one way that you can be curious today is just to have that affirmation and write something down. What does being curious look like for you in your life? Thank you for joining me for another Key to Being the Difference. My name is Steve Pederson, your host, and if you want more of these, check out my website, stevepederson.com. This is where I host all of the former Pederscopes. I'm here each weekday morning, 8:35 a.m. Central Time, to bring you another key. Hope to catch you on the next Pederscope. Until then, keep being fabulous.